Now we're ready to start printmaking. There is a lot of materials and setup in order to do the printmaking. So here is what you need. You need your collaged together papers. Please make sure before you start that your name is on the back and your class number. Okay. And you need your printing plate. You're going to need a tray, lots of scrap paper. You're going to need a roller. They look a couple different styles. Make sure, I have some really wide ones, make sure that the roller can fit in the tray. You're also going to need something to push on to your plate in order to transfer your image. I have two different options. And you're going to need ink. You are going to pick one color ink per day. You're not going to change. You're going to pick one color and use that color on as many of your prints as you can do in a class period. Okay, so you might get a few of them, you might get all of them. It's up to you. At this point, you can choose any color that you wish, any color that you think will go well with your prints. It does not have to stay cool or warm colors anymore. You can now break that. It's up to you. Okay, so in order to get set up, I'm going to make a pile of my prints on the side. I'm going to have a clean scrap paper underneath my tray. And I'm going to have a clean scrap paper where my print is going to go. And again, I'm going to have some extra scrap paper handy. Okay, so I'm going to take my ink and I'm just going to put a little bit, maybe about as much as you'd put on your toothbrush, like as if it was toothpaste. Okay, you're going to take your roller and you are going to dip into that and start to spread it down. You want to coat a nice even coat on the roller. So spread this ink around. Now notice this is still too much ink. There's lines there. If you can see, there's kind of lines there. We want a little bit less. So we're going to try to move that ink around. Okay, you want it to start making that little sound. Okay, you want to have little bumps if possible. That's kind of more of what you're looking for. Now you're going to take your printing plate onto a piece of scrap paper and you are going to ink your plate very carefully. You're going to roll up and back, re-ink. That's really what we're looking for, those little dots and that sound. Okay, we're going to roll across and back. I'm going to do this in kind of different directions, trying to get the whole thing inked. And each time you do that, you don't want to go back and forth and back and forth. You just want to do a little bit. Ink. Okay, when you think you've covered the whole thing, mine is relatively small, so I think I've got the whole thing. I am going to get ready to transfer my print. I'm going to let this scrap paper dry, and I'm going to get a new scrap paper. If you want to have some paper towel handy for your fingers, that's probably a good idea. I'm going to take one of my pictures, my collages, and you have to decide where you want this to go. It can go in the middle, it can go off to the side, it can go half off. You want some of them to crop off. Eventually, when you have multiples, you want some of them to layer and overlap. But this is my first one, so maybe I will have it just go off. I don't want that stem to be in the middle, so I'm just gonna have that go off, and maybe I'll have a little bit of that going off. And then because I have the scrap paper underneath, it doesn't matter for the where I place it. Now I'm going to put another clean piece of paper of scrap paper on top. And now I have to transfer the image. I have two tools for that. Okay, I'm gonna use this one first, show you how this one works. You are going to put pressure and just kind of try to push down. Okay, this one does the same thing. This is the flat part of this. You are going to put this on top, kind of put your hand there, and just, or put it like this, and just put pressure. Make sure, as I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I'm getting my edges. I don't want to avoid my edges. I like this one better, a little bit bigger. Now, this paper stayed pretty clean. I can definitely reuse that one. When you're pulling this up, it's called pulling your print. You never want to peel your styrofoam. You're going to peel the paper off. And you have a print. Okay. Now, because mine is small, if I wanted to print on this paper, I could do that again. Or I can start on my second print. Now this needs to go onto a drying rack. Now this, I'm going to, let's see, I'm just going to continue with this scrap paper because I'm going to re-ink on here. Now, depending on how much ink is on your thing, if it's looking a little bit like I'm no longer having those nice little peaks, I'm going to add a little bit more ink, but I don't need as much ink as I did in the beginning. A little bit will be enough, so just a little kind of dab is enough. But again, I have to spread that around evenly. So bring that down, side to side. Again, I'm looking for that like little peaks and that like sticky sound. If I see lots of big lines, then it's probably too much ink. And I'm gonna re-ink. Remember, start at the side, go up and back. Re-ink. Different angle. Sometimes if I can't go back, I just go in one direction. So I think I've inked that enough. I'm going to pick up my plate, let this scrap paper dry. My scrap paper, I'm going to put my clean picture there, and decide where I'm going to place this. I want this one to be like this. Okay, don't make sure when you press it down cleanly. Clean or dry scrap paper placed on top. Good amount of pressure. Now remember, when you're pulling your print, bend the paper, not the printing plate. And there's my picture. Okay, I'm gonna go let that dry as well. I want you to accept before you even start that not every print will be great. Some of them, the details may get clogged. Some of them, maybe you didn't ink a section enough, maybe you didn't push on a section enough. This is a learning process. You're learning, you're figuring it out. So please accept from the beginning that some of them will get messed up. That's why we're starting with 8 sheets of paper. In the end, we only need 3 or 4 good ones. When you are done for the day and it's time to clean up, you need to carefully rinse your printing plate with just plain warm water, okay? No sponges, just your fingers running it under water and trying to wipe off the ink as best as possible. You can then take a piece of paper towel, gently kind of dab it dry with the flat part of the paper towel, and this is going to go into your folder. Once these are dry, these can also go into your folder so you don't lose them. You have to keep track of all of your pieces, but we do have to wait for them to dry until the next class. The rollers and plates, sometimes you might be sharing this with someone else if someone else is using your colors, so maybe you're working here and someone else is working right next to you. Work together to clean them up. It does take a while to clean up printmaking, so you have to make sure that everything is clean so that the ink doesn't dry or clog something up.